Welcome to Rauta. I am Jerry and this is Underground Trio featuring three of the smaller kind, less known metal bands around the world, and this time we have different styles: industrial black metal from Norway, melodic black death from Australia, and then heavy metal, the classic epic kind from Finland, or technically speaking from international waters. And as always case with Underground Trio, I'll go through worst to best according to my own opinion these albums, so the best will be the last one, and we'll start with the least good first. Now, since these are all of different styles, of course it's a little hard to compare them as such to one another, so it's only my opinion because some kind of order has to be there, and my preference goes pretty much how much I like a given album. This has nothing to do absolutely with the given style because basically I'm the target audience for all these styles. So let's do it. First we'll head to Australia with the band named King, and this is album called Fury and Death. Now mind you, I have previously reviewed some other band with the same name, but back then that King, I think the older one, was from Colombia. There are plenty of bands with the same name, so it's easy to just get confused with all that. Now this one features quite a beautiful cover if you ask me. I mean, this is almost like Icelandic region with lava flowing in the background and some snowy mountains and all that stuff. Because at least in Iceland there has been some volcanic activity. However, this is actually from the other part of the world, Australia, dedicated to our fallen brother Dean Engines. This is kind of a nice that these kind of comments are made. Now inside of the booklet you will of course find the lyrics. That's not so much of course, not too much given because lots of bands don't really do that. And here you have the band photos, quite of a bearded quintet. And then you have more lyrics plus some of the liner notes. Zoom sometimes doesn't really work properly automatically, but in case you want to check out some of the comments here, feel free to pause, read the lyrics, read the liner notes and what have you. And this is how the CD looks like out through Soulseller Records in late 2023. So mind you, a little bit late to the party. Sometimes albums coming for review come a little bit late, as it's pretty much most often the case. So at least the CD and the booklet, everything here looks nice. What can we tell about this music is that it's maybe more on the melodic death metal side of things rather than full-blown black death metal things. I mean, this is of course a little bit depending what your background is, how you want to compare these kind of albums to one another, because let's be honest about it, back in 1990s, the line drawn between melodic death metal, I'm talking about especially the Gothenburg style with, early In Flames, Dark Triangle, Gates of Ishtar and bands like that, and melodic black metal from Swedish territory, it was pretty much written in water. Why so? Because sometimes a lot of those bands actually had like one foot on the other side of the line and another one on the other side. I'm using Dissection as an example because, for example, back in the day, some people said it's melodic death metal, it's not black metal. Nowadays, everybody keeps saying Dissection is black metal, so you have it here. And this is why I mention, because, King is basically doing that. It's flirting with both camps, and not necessarily the bad way, but doing in such a manner that some people might even argue whether this is more on the death metal side of things or black metal side of things. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. I mean, what matters is that if you like both camps, you're pretty much good to check it out and figure out for your own. For me, this is quite of a basic in the sense, in the camp. Nothing here is outstanding when we're talking about lyrics. Well, not lyrics, of course. Let's say vocals. Vocals, production, songwriting in general, everything here is like pretty basic. And that's not necessarily a bad thing once again, but it's something that if you're looking for something like extraordinary in style or in quality, maybe King is not gonna crown you as a king. Oh, just a bad pun, I had to use it. But to me it seems like the band is in development. That is saying there's a lot of potential to be, making waves and all that stuff. Now it's maybe a little bit too much on the bulk side of things. Like I said, there is nothing fundamentally wrong or bad with that. but it's not really, standing out from the rest and saying like, okay, this is the album you really, really need to hear. It's good for its own style, genre, and, the merits, whatever, but it's not really, superior one. Pretty cool of an album, and then you move on. The next one is a one-man project from Norway called The Last Eon, and this is a pretty wild cover. I mean, there's certain kind of early 2000s with the stuff, and looking at the vivid colors here and the design, I would say, yeah, this must be some kind of a weird power metal thing. Actually, this Infernal Fractality is quite different. To be honest, when you start spinning this, it's obvious this band is all about industrial black metal. So that kind of explains the very cosmic feeling to it. And I would say this is definitely trying to tap the same buttons, the same style, all is one. Then, the bands like Mysticum, Aborum, to a certain degree, I guess, Diabolicum and the like. But Mysticum is the first one that comes to my head. This is not so much, for example, reminding me of the mighty Thorns from Norway. And Thorns and Mysticum were more or less the originators of industrial black metal style in the 90s. But this is more like going back and at the same time of this day. But, graphics wise and all, this is more like going back to the 90s. I am, for some reason, thinking of sites like GeoCities and the like. And the graphic design is something that really could have been out, the early Moonfog days. So this is kind of a throwback thing in terms of style and all. Maybe it's just me, but sometimes you really can't deny your own associations. When it comes to music, it's kind of clear that, and obvious, this is not a pioneer band. There are lots of nice things here, like, being obviously very, very much all over the industrial place. I mean, there are guitar parts which are kind of reminding me of Mysticum, but even more so it's the drums. I'm not actually sure if it's drum or drum machine because it just says it's a one-man project. To be honest, doesn't really matter. Both ways are okay when we're talking about industrial metal. I mean, Mysticum pretty much already perfected it, and Thorns did their own stuff with similar stuff and style and all that, but also sounding somewhat different. Now, The Last Eon is more like trying to figure out how to make it sound their own, but still also paying homage to these masters of industrial black metal. So it's kind of curious. It's also coming from Norway, where more or less this industrial black metal was born. Of course, there have been other bands like Aberr from Italy or Black Lodge and the like, Diabolicum from Sweden, which have been doing somewhat similar, or at least some same sub-genre of music. However, The Last Eon is more like work in progress kind of a thing. I'm saying it has all the ingredients and all the understanding, basically what you really need to have in order to make an industrial black metal. But it's like there are no such good and captivating songs like Mysticum has. So whether we're talking about hit songs or catchiness or memorability or just captivating feeling, The Last Eon is more like a demo level recording versus what Mysticum and Thorns did with their albums. I am saying this as an industrial black metal fan. I'm very picky with that style, but then again, that I guess is apparent to a lot of people. But basically, The Last Eon is tapping to the right buttons. It's probably slowly getting there, but this album is not the one that is gonna make waves. It's something refreshing given that industrial black metal is not that common, never was, and still isn't, but still you really need to have, in my opinion, better songwriting to really make it worthwhile and all that stuff. Now I'm already unboxing the last one, which is in my opinion the best of the pile. This is Graven, 2/3 from Finland and 1/3 of Cyprus. This is Wail of the Gods, the debut album by this heavy metal band. And when I'm saying international waters, I really mean it because it's, like I said, Finland, Cyprus. It comes with an interesting, not international, cover image, which is a little bit vague, a little bit like, what is really happening here with the flames and this structure of things? Anyway, let's move on to the lineup here. If you already are quick to remember who these guys are, you know what I'm talking about. First of all, let's take a look at the Ville Pystynen guitar and bass. Of course, he's the Horna and Sargeist mastermind. A lot of people will know his style of various other bands such as Vorder also. And there are plenty of other bands, mostly operating in black metal. Then you have, on the other side of the booklet, you have Ville Markkanen, the other Baldu Ville, also bearded guy, who is doing the drums. And then in the middle, I apologize for the Zoom not functioning. We have the vocalist who is from Cyprus and has a couple of other bands. He's mostly known for his heavy metal vocals. This is pretty interesting because basically this is flirting with epic doom and kind of a classic heavy metal. But let's be honest about it. The tempo is way too fast. Mixed tempo, that is, to be considered by many a doom thing. Now I am not gonna remove this jewel case from its case. I mean the booklet, because it's so tight this could actually break. And this is how it looks. The same thing as on the cover, and then you have the backside, pardon for the reflections of the microphone and all, but this is track list and everything. Out to Svart Records, Finland. When I already got the information about this band, Graven, I was in touch with Ville, the guitar bass dude, and he was explaining that this is something very different from his normal stuff with Horna, Sargeist and the other bands. And I was like, okay, got me interested. And then I got the digital copy and I was listening, and this was pretty interesting. But I didn't even finish the album because I was waiting for the CD, like the full thing and all. And I must say, first of all, I'm half positively surprised and half kind of like just okay. The thing here is what I'm surprised is that I really, really love the vocals. They really make this worthwhile listening to. Without weaker, less talented vocals, or less skilled vocals, this would be just kind of a boring, to be honest. Kind of a basic heavy metal and all. But what this kind of a combination of epic heavy metal with a little bit of a classic doom or epic doom kind of a really needs is a proper vocalist. Something that is able to use his voice in many ways, you know, able to convey all the feelings and all that stuff. So, yeah, this really, really is carried by the vocals. But of course, without proper, you know, songwriting and guitar solos or guitar leads and all that stuff, the vocals wouldn't, you know, just be enough. For the drummer, I think this is pretty, like, solid and all that stuff, but nothing really stands out. Then again, this kind of music rarely is so much drum-oriented or drum-driven. So it's more like drums do what they do, much like the bass. They rarely kind of lead the way, so to speak. It's all about vocals and guitar riffs, and they have to go hand in hand. Now, what I'm disappointed then, and being just like okay with it, is like, to me, in my opinion, it kind of lacks the hit songs. So while this is kind of enjoyable to listen to, I mean, this is really kind of basically right up my alley. When I'm comparing this to bands like Soulseller from Sweden, which are essentially doing the same thing, they have way more catchiness and memorability. Whether we're talking about the melodics, the vocals are doing, or just guitar riffs, this ain't in the same level of competition. Then again, if I'm comparing this to some of the more boring but still quite late releases by Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, I think Graven is kicking their ass. So it should be some value, really. Because in my opinion, first of all, this isn't too lengthy. This isn't like 70 minutes of like epic whatever. And that's part of the, you know, burden with me when it comes to a couple of latest Iron Maiden albums. And exactly what Judas Priest was doing a few years ago too. Before Firepower, that is. But when it comes to, you know, really, really nailing it down, like finishing touches and all, I'm saying Graven has more there to do. Like, just keep more hooks, more those parts where you really, really nail it and you start singing the songs in your shower or whatever, driving. That's what I do often. Maybe more on driving side than shower side of things. But also, still got to say, the vocals do a lot here. So it's more about the guitar and songwriting in general to have those captivating, you know, moments. Being the first album, this is already pretty goddamn good. So I'm just waiting what happens next. when the songs are probably, more polished and more finished in a way. And I hope there will be even more room for the vocalists to approach different territories and add those vocal melodies which are tend to gonna grab you by the balls and, drag you to the hell and back. So, Graven is the winner of this pile, but like I said, all different styles. If you want to go safely, Death and Black the melodic way, go with the King from Australia. If you want to go industrial and challenge your some of the borders, industrial black metal, then the Last Eon. And finally, epic heaviness with Graven. Of course, links are provided in the description box, so click. In case you're watching TV, use your smart devices to find these on streaming services, and then you're good to go with the music and start enjoying. And of course, if you like, go for the physical product, as I always keep saying. Now you have some new names for your listening to list, and start to explore and start enjoying. Take care and see you soon with more Underground Trio recommendations coming your way.